This is Helping Decline of Biodiversity by Alex King, G. Keen, Dylan Young, and Ben Kyogo. Oxford Languages defines biodiversity as the variety of life in the world or a particular habitat or ecosystem. We are currently in the midst of the sixth mass extinction, with species becoming extinct and endangered every day. This affects many natural functions that also affects humans. Biodiversity maintains the food web that controls ecosystems, climate, and food production. The main causes of decline of biodiversity are invasive species, pollution, and climate change. More human causes are land disturbance, habitat loss, and overexploitation.
How could we slow the biodiversity decline which is affecting the planet? Solution 1, nature preserves. A quote from E.O. Wilson states, "Only by committing half of the planet's surface to nature can we hope to save immensely of life forms that compose it. Unless humanity learns a great deal more about global and moves quickly to protect it, we will soon lose most of the species composing life on Earth." And according to Wiktionary, what a nature preserve is, it is an area of land that is managed in order to conserve wildlife or plant habitat or other natural features. And healthy ecosystems provide clean water, purify our air, maintain our soil, regulate climate, recycle nutrients, and provide food. And then some issues with what nature preserves are, government issues, are it is very costly, and buying the rights to the land and having people work it and maintain the land is costly with people trying to buy it. Needs government attention, however, not seen as a prominent issue right now, and getting it to be passed, and restoring the laws that have already been occupied, and people are informed, so we need more people to know.
Solution 2, creating laws and restrictions. So, are there already laws protecting biodiversity? Well, according to the United Nations, the Convention of Biological Diversity, the CBD, is the international legal instrument for the conservation of biological diversity, the sustainable use of its components, and the fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising out of the utilization of genetic resources. This has been ratified by 196 countries. The overall objective of the CBD, Convention of Biological Diversity, is to encourage actions that will lead to a future with biodiversity. Bolivia is a South American landlocked country between Brazil, Peru, Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. Bolivia is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of biodiversity. So rich in biodiversity, in fact, that they are in the top 15 most biodiverse countries in the world, according to the UN. In Bolivia, they have recently passed the Law of Rights of Mother Earth. This bill gives plants rights just as any human would have. Included in these rights are the rights to biodiversity and clean air. However, here in the United States, passing the law is neither simple nor a quick process. As you can see by this image, there are many different steps for a bill to become a law. Also, according to the ushistory.org, in an article about the different steps of a bill becoming a law, they say, before a bill becomes a law, it must pass both houses of Congress and get signed into law by the president. Not surprisingly, less than 10% of proposed bills actually become laws.
Our last and final possible solution is changing education/announcements. Social media platforms are growing in our life today. As shown on the graph, out of 7.83 billion people, 4.2 billion are active internet users. If we change the information we send out, it would be a quick way to spread information out to a wide audience. However, we have to be careful about the amount of disinformation that goes in these platforms, since there's not really a restriction for what we post. In addition, a way to attract more recognition is by having bigger, more interactive headlines. If we can change New York Times headlines to spread awareness of biodiversity decline, then we have to start to decrease the amount of human pollution. Like this title here, Atomic Bomb Hits Japan. That is a very interactive headline that makes you want to read the paper. Education change. In terms of education change, We could have schools distribute pathway bottles instead of plastic bottles, like Brophy does. Another topic that could be addressed in schools is the bringing in of invasive species, like the brown trout. According to United Nations Development Program, invasive alien species are the second biggest cause of biodiversity loss. Species like the brown trout have been brought into the U.S. and are ruining lake systems and different kinds of species in those lakes. Some fish shops have given rewards for the killing of species like the brown trouts or crawdads. Finally, the use of car fuels are contributing to most of the CO2 emissions. Switching to electric cars would save the toxic chemical emissions, especially for college students, since there are a lot of car fuels and they often cannot afford Teslas. The final topic change would be talk about deforestation and exploitation. Both of these causes could be averted if people were educated on non-renewable sources and the substitution of renewable sources like solar energy, wind energy, or maybe hydro energy, like we talked about in the Miller Notes. 79% of carbon dioxide emissions are what contribute to greenhouse gases. Some of the limitations of the solution are that it takes time that we may not have. A lot of this is because of the time it takes to approve the laws and restrictions that are put in place. It is a long process for this, like Finn showed on the laws, especially in the U.S. government. We also need more than one person. The authority that is needed to change the education and curriculum in schools often takes lots of time for approval and to be put into the system in order for it to be in effect. This makes it a non-viable and long time consuming solution that we may need to consider. On this graph, it shows the amount of species that have started to go extinct from 2000 to 2020. It shows it on a scale of extinct, critically endangered, and vulnerable. And as you can see, as we start to move, it continues to decrease in the amount of biodiversity loss that we have.
We collectively said that the best solution was to create more nature preserves. Nature preserves would create immediate impact to clean water, purify air, and provide food, opposed to new laws and education, which would still take years to form a change. To sum up, the future of biodiversity is unpredictable. However, it does not look very bright, as we are still at a very fast rate of extinctions. Marine life has decreased 49% in the past couple years, according to Christoph Cooper, a professor and chairman in marine biodiversity at the University of Aberdeen. In addition, if nothing is done about it, the Earth's temperature will rise 1.4 to 5.8 degrees Celsius by 2100, as stated by Maggie T. Kelley, who has a PhD and is an aquatic ecologist professor at Ain Shams University. Biodiversity is essential for the health of our planet. The variety of species form a web that supports life on Earth. Biodiversity provides us with resources such as food, fuel, and medicine. And it also helps regulate the Earth's climate, air, and water. Without biodiversity, ecosystems would become imbalanced and unable to support life. Therefore, it is imperative to protect and conserve biodiversity for future generations and the health of our planet. Here are our sources.
Wiktionary, I don't know if that's
What is Wiktionary?